now let's go through the slides and see what all things we need to know. Okay. We covered need to know, we covered least privilege, we covered separation of duties, we covered 2% control. 2% control is basically, you maintain when you require one single asset to be operated by two people. Okay. So some important, keys, okay, which needs to be, utilized for your database, security, or some access keys are generally split into two parts and given to two different individuals for having 2% control, so that one single person is not able to execute anything critical. Okay. Job rotation we discussed. Mandatory vacations is once you send people on mandatory on vacations to carry out some investigation so that they are not able to do something, change some or remove some evidence from their systems. Okay. Privileged account management, you've already seen. You have to manage privileged account properly, and service level agreements with third party vendors. Okay, let's have a question and then we will go ahead. Right, so it is A. Okay.
Sir, I have one
more question.
No, not question. On the same question, I have a small when competing analysis. I have also given the vote for A, but I also have a little inclination towards option D. I mean, generally in certain cases, people have option like for each piece of information, they have to provide justification. There are certain cases I have encountered. So just willing to know about that.
I think it's the same question. Okay, they need to know this list. Okay.
Yes, this one. So I've given option as A, but in certain cases I have seen in my own case studies where D also is applicable for few cases. Like if it is really that sensitive, then for every time they have to register.
Okay, so in first question, if you see, there is need to know principle. Okay.
Yeah, need to know principle.
So there we are giving sensitive information only to those who have proper authorization and require it to do the job. And in the second thing, it is principle of least privilege, where we are giving access to minimum level facts. So please be very careful on these two questions.
No, okay. The first one.
And here's the third question.
No, need to know. I am a little confused between A and D.
Yeah. So in this case, the separation of duties, right? Okay. Is this clear? Giving users minimum level of access?
Yes.
Right. That is clear. Okay. Now here, which of the following is an example of proper separation of duties? The account payable clerk processes an invoice, okay, writes the check and mails the payment. That means one single person, he is getting the invoice, writing the check, sending the email. That means if he is the one who is, then he can collude with the service provider and can, fudge the things. So that's why here separation of duties is required. The guy who is processing an invoice should not be the same who is also writing the check. Processor and check writing should be two different people. So now there you get the answer. Which one is the answer? Does it make it amply clear? Separation of duties? Somebody asked me to explain. Okay, great. Let's go ahead. Okay. So this now my slides are in a different form, right? So duress systems we already discussed. When is it used? When somebody is working alone, right? So you should know what is a duress system. You can alert backups or law enforcement. Some guard who is sitting alone and he needs to communicate. During travel, what all you should do? You should tell about public Wi-Fi, use of VPNs. Okay. Generally, during travel, employees should not have sensitive data on their mobile devices. Okay, and malware and monitoring devices should be installed on systems which are used for travel. Right. Emergency management, you should plan for man-made disasters, should have proper documentation. In emergency management, safety of personnel is the primary concern. So whenever you see a question which is trying to test you on human life, always remember human life is the most important. Okay. And how do you make humans more resilient? By having proper training and awareness. Okay. You need to provide them with disaster training, travel tips. Okay. So you need to keep them trained and informed. Okay. Now, in your organization, as I told you, secure operation of your hardware and software resources. Okay. There has to be proper ownership of all the resources in your organization, because if there is no ownership, there will be no one to take care of that. Proper asset management and hardware and software inventory management has to be there. Okay. There are intangible inventories like intellectual property rights or patents, which also needs to be protected. Whenever we talk about resource protections, generally we talk about mobile devices and media, because these things get tampered easily, lost easily. So you need to have proper media management, storage media management, so that it is protected against any wanted or unwanted attacks. Right? Then you might have to manage your services in the cloud. Okay? The cloud service model was something which was pending, and I needed to discuss that. Okay. Now, what is a cloud service model? Okay, you need to understand what is the cloud. Right? So, erstwhile, it all started with client server arrangement. Okay. So, what used to happen was, you know, 70s and 80s, you had a server which you will use to connect to the client, and such large servers will be connected in the room. Okay. And these were called mainframe systems. So your application will run here and it will serve a client which is in the same room, okay, or in a different room, but nearby. Okay. Then came the client server era. In the client server era, your servers were on premise, right? But now you could serve multiple clients. Okay. Then those clients could be connected to the internet. Okay. So it could be on premise or it could be someone off premise also. But however, servers were kept inside your own premises. Okay. Then came the data center era. So you said, okay, we cannot manage so many servers. So I made a big data center. You took data center on rent, took some racks, and put all your servers in the data center. And now you are working in your spacious office without any hardware. Hardware is connected to a high-speed internet to your office space. Okay. So it was data center. The servers are kept in data center. This is your server. This is my servers. Okay, so there were huge data centers in which you could place your hardware and then connect it to your office environment. Okay, in India, you can connect it to the US also. Okay, and then you can create networks and work between each other. Okay, your clients were sitting inside. Okay, your applications which were there on the internet were also on the data center, and your users could access your information on the data center. So the servers were not kept in there. When the data center era came, then people realized that, why to have our own hardware? Right now in data center, the hardware was your own, managed by someone else. Okay. Then the cloud era came, wherein you said, you don't need to know where the hardware is. Hardware is in the cloud. You just need to know how much do you want. So you want a server, we will give you a server. For how much? Say 100 USD per month. Okay. So that's how it became a rented model. Okay. And it became a dynamic model, wherein you can take infrastructure from someone, use it, and then discard it also. And that service model came to be known as the cloud service model. In cloud, there are three models. Okay. One is called infrastructure as a service, wherein you take the complete infrastructure. You want a server, you want a network, you want everything. Okay, you take it on rent, and then you operate it yourself. You are responsible for its security. However, the underlying hardware and the hypervisor is a software on top of which virtualization works, is the responsibility of the cloud service provider. However, anything which you take, okay, is your responsibility. If you see in this diagram, what is customer responsibility? Operating system and above. Virtualization layer and hardware layer is responsibility of the cloud service provider. Then comes the platform as a service. Now what happened? You realize that to run your application, you do not need a server, because server has many components, operating system, libraries, a lot of software, which you don't require to run this app. Your app requires only certain environment. It doesn't require the complete operating system, because the operating system needs to run the hardware also, right? And you don't need it. You need to need the application to run. You just wanting to a web application to run. Why do you need a server? So you take a specified environment. So you take something called a runtime. Okay, you only take the runtime. You run the application, you specify the environment, and you take only the runtime. Okay. So now runtime below is managed by your cloud service provider. You only manage the application and the data. This modeling is called platform as a service. Now suppose you made a web application which will run on Nginx. The application is on Python and database is on SQL. You just need these three environment variables, and the cloud service provider runs it for you. It does not, you do not come to know whether it's running on Windows or Mac or whatever. You are not bothered. You just are bothered about the environment on which it will work. Right? It's called platform service. And software as a service is where the provider provides you with the software to be used. You are not worried about anything. You're just worried about the use. Okay. Now, in this case, the username and the password is the only thing which you need to protect. The rest, everything is managed by your cloud service provider. These are three models, okay, of cloud service model. Okay. Right. So now cloud can be deployed in four models. First is the public cloud. What is the public cloud? Which is available for use by public. So your AWS, your GCP, your Azure, they are all public cloud. Anybody can use them. Then you have the private cloud. Private clouds are cloud which is hosted by organizations for themselves. Okay, I have good money. I have enough hardware. I create my own cloud. I do not want to go to the public cloud because I want to have my own privacy. Okay, so I create a private cloud. Then some people come together and say, let's form a community cloud. We give resources and we create a cloud for the community so that people do not have to. So there are a lot of open source work which goes on the internet. So let's create a community and create a community cloud. And hybrid cloud is mix of any of the cloud, public on private, private and community, community and public. So this is how you can deploy cloud modules. Right. Now, what is this that cloud provides? Cloud provides two factors. One is called elasticity and one second is scalability. Elasticity and scalability. Now, what does it mean is, okay, you have an infrastructure which you have taken on the cloud. Okay. You can give it a stretchability. You can say, okay, when I have 500 users per minute, okay, then increase the CPU to 2. Okay. But the moment I have 1000 minutes per second, 1000 requests per second, increase it to vCPU 4. Okay. You can give it stretchable limits. There is a certain limit up to which you can give the stretchability, that you can operate between this and that. So what happens when you're operating at this level? Okay, you are build less. But when you are operating at this level, you are build more. So the billing is very, very dynamic in nature. So, but it also helps you in handling peak load. So if your peak load is this and it happens at night 3 o'clock, then it can automatically handle your peak load. And this property is called elasticity. And then there is called scalability. Scalability is, it's very easy in the cloud to spin up one server, second server, third server, and put it behind a load balance. Okay, you are right now serving to 2 servers, load increases, automatically the third server, So your scalability is very, very dynamic. And you can scale with something called infrastructure as a code. That means you can write certain lines of code, and the moment your peak load goes beyond, say, 2 servers, automatically this code gets executed and you have the third server ready. Okay, and similarly the fourth server ready. This is called infrastructure as a code, and this provides scalability. Okay, let's have a question and then we will go ahead. Okay, so now this is a little concerning for me, but it's okay. The cloud backups data automatically with no effort required by the user. That's false. You have to put in effort, right? Okay, you have to put in effort. Unless you tell that you need to back up, you will not be able to back up. Okay, then data stored in the cloud is completely immune from hardware failure or data loss. Is it possible? Is it possible that data hardware will not fail? It is highly possible. Data loss is possible in cloud. So you cannot say. Okay. Hardware failure, read about AWS outages. Okay. Google it and you will see AWS had a major outage in 2011, 2012, 2016, 2018, 2021. Major outages of hardware. Okay. So hardware failure is possible anywhere. How can you say hardware is immune from failure? No, it's not immune from failure. It will fail, but yes, there could be redundancies. So this answer is also out. Okay. Then data stored in the cloud can be accessed from any device with an internet connection. Now, this is something which is doable. And the cloud provides unlimited storage capacity at no cost. Now, that is false. So, A is at no cost. How can cloud service provided unlimited storage capacity at no cost? Please read carefully. So, ultimately, data stored in the cloud can be accessed from any device. That's the property of the cloud. Cloud has been made for accessing on the internet, right? That is your major requirement for being on cloud, that you can access the cloud through the internet from any device. Okay? You are not worried about what kind of system you have. You can access this through an open internet connection. Okay, so get your cloud concepts will be clear there. So configuration management, we saw that in configuration management, we are trying to keep the system secure. Deployed secure systems are there to be kept secure. Means your systems
Sir,
are running.
I have a question regarding the previous question you just put up.
Yeah, please.
So regarding the B option, data stored in cloud can be accessed from any device. So it comes with I believe it comes with lots of conditions, like if the data is in, let's say, cold archived storage, or there are some cold archives, so it's not readily available. So
Obviously,
like,
it is not readily available. Obviously, there are controls.
yeah,
But
yes,
but if you have to see the condition of the question, right? The question is saying that what are the advantages? Advantages is, if you want to restore your backup, say you are on holiday, right? You're on a holiday. You have carried your laptop and your manager calls you there. We have got a disaster recovery situation. You are on holiday. We're not able to recover. Can you connect to our cloud and recover it? Will you be able to do it or not?
yes,
So fundamentally, you understand the concept, right? You may have multiple controls over how to recover from the backup, of course, right? But the major property is it gives you independence to access your infrastructure from anywhere with a internet connection.
okay, got it.
Got it?
Thanks. Yeah.
That is a fundamental understanding. If the fundamental understanding is clear, if you dig deep, then you are becoming a BCDR. You are not supposed to be a BCDR professional. You don't need. You might make it mandatory. But you don't need a VPN to connect to the cloud. That is depending upon your organization requirements, right? Your organization puts a VPN always on your endpoint. Of course, that is the best practice, right? You're supposed to have a VPN to connect to your VPN or a cloud service, the CISSP solution to connect to your cloud, of course, right? Or at least device-based, authenticator. So those are given conditions that you should have a VPN to connect to any resources. Right? You don't need, mandatorily you don't need. You can connect to VPN. You can connect to AWS without anything. That's not mandatory. But yes, your organization will put in certain rules, and of course that your device has to follow. Right. Configuration management. I told you, if you want to keep your system secure, you will have to put configuration management into place, right? The aim is to keep the system secure over its lifetime. That's the aim of configuration management. And you use baselines and images to deploy consistent secure. So you create a baseline of security, that this is the baseline, and then you push it to your systems to keep it secure. Okay. Generally, this is how you perform baseline and image deployment. That is, you create one very secure system, and then you push it through your image server and push it to all the devices. You manually don't go to each and every server and do it. You push it through one image server. Okay? These days, this is capable using your MDM solutions. Also, your MDMs can also push your baselines and patches. Okay. So you generally, commonly, what you do, disable unused ports, close unused ports, removing unused applications. Baselining. You start provisioning systems from a single baseline. You always create one baseline, which is very secure, and then deploy your systems as the baselines. You do not just buy your systems from outside and just deploy. You baseline your systems against a given security parameter. Okay, there are different baselining standards. You have Windows 10 baselines. Okay, you have Windows 11 baselines. There are CIS baselines. Okay. So you follow some baselines. You have PCI DSS baselines. So our different baselines commonly used are CIS, very rigid, very strict. You can use CIS baseline, very difficult to maintain. You can do Windows 10 standard security baseline, okay, which shuts down all the basic ports other than HTTPS. Okay. Or you can use CIS, which have got very, very stringent hardening baselines. Right? If you push that, a lot of things are unusable, become unusable. Right. Right. So reading the question, answer is very easy. You just need to. So in exam, you will have not, but this will not be broadened. It will be small not. So you need to read the question. Rest all are part of your configuration management. Adherence to budgets is not concern of the configuration.